Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
You know, LinkedIn's a funny thing. Facebook's a funny thing. More so LinkedIn. I find Facebook, I'm running into mainly people I know or people it's just a little closer to home. You have friends on Facebook, and whereas on LinkedIn, it's connections. And I just noticed the other day, I'm upwards of 19,000 connections. And a lot of people, what they're trying to do is they're trying to add more and more connections. I'm committed to this year of maybe just like offloading about 4,000 connections, whatever, just going through. These are people I don't know, I've never talked to, I have no idea who they are, I don't know how they got on my LinkedIn. I really don't need to have the clutter there. But you run into all types, and I try to be a little more judicious about who I'm connecting with. But today's guest is not that case. Dia Irby is somebody that I've had on the program before. If you go back 2 times, she's been on before. She was on episode 486, which came out in June of 2022. And then a couple months later, I got her back on, and we talked about the magic of the meal, episode 522, which came out September 8th of 2022. Both great conversations. And then I found out that she was coming out with a book, and we're going to talk about her book here. And Dia, I really, really love having you on, love talking to you about your book. I know our first episode, we pretty much talked about the topic of the book, which is CLAIM, which is an acronym. And you graciously allowed me to write a acknowledgement for it or a recommendation for it. So anyhow, let's talk about being claimed again and your book, and fill us in.
Well, Frank, first, thank you. Third time is the charm, I'm hoping. But
there could be a fourth.
Hey, just do it.
Yeah.
The second set of 3s.
Yeah.
You are an awesome networker, and you are a fabulous podcast host, making your guest feel welcome and comfortable and conversational. Yes, thank you so much for being a early reader of my book. I appreciated you spending the time, and you also were very generous in your endorsement or testimony. Yes, the book basically it's in 3 sections. The first part is assessing the problem that we have. The middle part is the answer, which is belonging, building a culture of belonging in the workplace. I like to say, boost the bottom line with belonging. And you're a relational person, so you understand the power of belonging.
Yeah.
Think back about when you were 5, if that's not too long ago. I
remember. Yeah.
Yes. I remember sitting in the grass in the front yard of Miss Annie's preschool, making pink clover necklaces with my classmates. Those are the same classmates I graduated high school with and recently had a high school reunion with in this small Mississippi town. So I grew up with this real strong sense of belonging, and I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Did you have a belonging growing up?
Yeah, I went to kindergarten in Brookfield, Illinois, and then we moved away and spent 2 years in Madison, Wisconsin. But then 3rd grade, I ended up in a little town in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Houghton, Michigan. A lot of great friends there. I love going back there. It's a college town, but it's a place where people do move away, but there's a lot of people who stick around, and it's a sense of community. And I'll go back and I'll go to church, and I'll run into people, and sometimes I don't recognize them. It's a little embarrassing because for me, it's kind of out of context. But because I don't know who's still there or whatever. and that's nice to be remembered. But yeah, I mean, I always say, hey, thank you for remembering me.
Right. You have a place where you feel like you belong, and it's not a belonging like to the library. It's a belonging like the TV show. Which one?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
And you know theirs. And so you're blessed that you had a time in your life where you belong somewhere, and you still can go back and feel like, yeah, I'm comfortable here. I'm secure. I know these people. These are my peeps. Well, after my husband graduated from seminary, we moved 13 hours away from anybody or anything that I was familiar with. And for the first time, I felt the pain of isolation.
Yeah.
Lonely.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is what some people have for a normal, never fitting in. That's why people are attracted to gangs.
Yeah.
Or cults can be so strong because people want to belong. We all want to belong.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a huggy-feely concept for the business world. But what is a business made up of but people?
Well, you're right. I mean, we spend not 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Most jobs anymore, if you want to hang on to something, most professional jobs, you're not punching a clock. It's not 8 hours. It's a sense of community. And you kind of gave me an intro here, which I had skipped over, but you had artfully wrote, are you a leader in the marketplace? Do you wonder how to put a fire under team members without burning them? Do you wonder how to keep great workers without shackles? I just think that's where we're heading with this. It's nice you can't be in the kindergarten class forever. Right.
But you can find belonging.
Right. Yeah.
And people don't understand. Well, there was a survey done with companies that had developed a culture of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in 2019. I am sure that the statistics are even more impressive. But if you have a culture of belonging, your productivity goes up 58%.
Yeah.
And your turnover, it goes down 50%. Think of all the money you spent. It's cost $7 billion in America to replace all the people that leave during the Great Resignation. And also, this is a statistic that I was really impressed with. A company that has a sense of belonging decreases employee sick day by 75%.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons that in my opinion, they want to be at work, so they don't necessarily have a hurt back or a headache. The other aspect is, do you know how to say disease as dis-ease? When you're in a toxic environment where you don't feel like you belong, you will get sick and you will need employee sick days. But if you're in a company or a culture, a supportive culture that you can breathe, you're breathing in oxygen, that you can grow, then you're going to want to be there.
Yeah. Well, there's science behind that. I mean, they look at marriages, and there are certain things that if they're in a marriage or missing from a marriage, where they call it the four horsemen of a doomed relationship. Go ahead.
It translates into business. The
culture
of the business. And perhaps if a person is a leader in the company, or it can be a nonprofit, all of this is applicable to any place where you have people, because people are people. But you start thinking, that's not really something I need to focus on, the culture of it. Look, here's your job, go do it. But no, people are going to be, well, the subtitle on the book, engaged and productive. if you have this culture of belonging. So some people may not have even thought about defining specifically what their culture is, understanding their values. And then as you're hiring people or bringing people on, if you don't have a clear where you can show it on paper, what your culture is and what you're about and what are your priorities, then a person coming won't know if they want to join.
Yeah.
Or you won't really know what they have to offer, and will they be in addition to or be able to be as productive and engaged in your culture you want, because you're the leader.
Yeah, I look at it metaphorically or similarly to walking into a room where you don't know anybody. That feeling where I had a job. I'm been self-employed since '95. I'm unemployable at this point, but I had a job for the first 7-8 years of my professional career, and I had some friends there and people I liked, but it was always off. It was always kind of like go, go, go. This could be the day you were done. And it was never a good feeling, but it was the same feeling as walking into a room of strangers that just kind of, you can just feel your heart racing. It's not a good feeling. There were little sanctuaries of friends that you could talk to, but overall it's like, man, this could be my day. In fact, I remember once it was my birthday. It was my birthday, and they were letting people go, right? It's a big accounting firm. They were letting people go, and this was pre-email. And what they would do is, what was happening is that the secretary for the HR person, the administrative assistant, would call you and say, hey, you need to come on upstairs. And it was my birthday, and I got a message, call Sandra Riggs. Oh, jeez. It was late in the day. I went home. I'm just working on my resume. Off to Kinko's, if you remember Kinko's, right? Trying to get my resume done. I'm just ready. And all my friends saw the note. It's like, oh, geez, too bad for Frank. And I came in the next day and called Sandra. Hey, Sandra, this is Frank. I just called to wish you a happy birthday. And I said, Sandra, I knew her well enough. I could say, you SOB. So what are you talking about? I said, you realize what's happening out here, right? You realize that a call from you is like the Grim Reaper. But that's, I breathed a sigh of relief, but that was pretty much my existence there. And as time went on, Dia, I realized that, and I'm going to jump into your book here. I didn't feel chosen. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel acknowledged. I didn't feel invested. I didn't feel made for greatness. I think I got those right.
You did.
But the reason I didn't is because my boss didn't either. Everybody was looking to somebody else, and so nobody was getting theirs. And so because they weren't getting theirs and so consumed with getting theirs, that they weren't going to turn the tables and give somebody else theirs.
Wow.
And that was the problem.
Totally. The leader is the thermostat.
Yes.
And
that's an important distinction. If you could explain the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer.
Sure. What does a thermometer do? It tells you what the temperature is.
Thank you.
The thermometer can't decide to be more or less. It is what it is. The thermostat, it has the power to set the temperature.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader and you're in the workplace and it's toxic and everybody's and doesn't want to be there, you're the thermostat. You created that, and that's not easy to hear. That's why one little side easy application of creating the good culture is a giveaway, a document that teaches the 3 strategies for having yawn-free meetings. Because if you're a leader, you're going to have meetings. And how can you do that? And it needs to be it needs to be healthy. It needs to be fit. And that's an acrostic because I like acrostics.
Yeah. And you gave me the link to that, and I can put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Write myself a note here.
It's a downloadable free.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody wants me to help them implement that, I'm available, but
sure,
it's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, but it's just.
So is claim your people.
Well, so is weight loss.
Yes, it's all.
So is getting financially fit. There's so many things in life that are simple, and we don't, for one of two reasons. It's not that the information's not there. It's that we don't have the discipline to stick with it, or maybe understand it. When you I'll use investing. Well, what does diversification mean? Most people understand. A lot of people don't, right? And the difference between the haves and have-nots in this world are just little bits of information that people can capitalize on. And I have no doubt that the three strategies are something similar, because if you're saying something, in your mind what that word or what that phrase means, but other people really don't know. Okay, you're telling me to do this, but I don't understand how this executes in the real world.
Well, also there are different learning styles. Somebody can hear it, but they just hear it and they don't know how to implement. Or the person, maybe they can, but the person that's kinesthetic has to hands-on. You have to help me know what foot to put in front of the other. Also, sometimes looking at that old saying, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time. Yeah.
You think, oh man, now that I think about it, my company, the culture here is, I did have this many people quit last week or last month, or our production's low. And so it's really large and you don't know where to start.
What's the sign we always joke about? The beatings will stop when morale improves, right? And we would always talk about that because that's what it felt like. But that's, there are the leaders and then there are the followers. I guess to a degree, we all could be leaders, right? I mean, I could have gone into work with a different attitude and said, you know what, if today is my day, it's my day. I can't control that. But what I can control is the attitude I have when I walk off this elevator and the effort I put into my work, and how I treat other people. And that's it.
Exactly. Everybody is a leader. There is someone, even if it's someone that you're ahead of and they're following you.
Yeah.
And you have people you're following. And there's a difference between a leader and a manager. You know the difference?
Well, I mean, you kind of alluded to it before. The manager's the one who tells you it's 70 degrees. The leader is the one who turns it to 72, right?
Yes. A manager makes you feel like they're important. A leader makes you feel like you're important. So be a leader.
Yeah.
And make sure people know they're made for greatness.
Yeah. There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about your work. I mean, you've got this book out, Claimed. It's a great acronym. And for those listening, while she was talking, it's like, you know what? I should have looked this up. I've got a copy of your book. I don't have it, but I wrote them out because I remember the first time we spoke, you went through, you had the big wrought iron. Oh, you still have your big wrought iron letters. Yep, there we go. And
I made you guess them, didn't I?
You did. Yeah, you did. And I was wrong, but a lot of them I was wrong, but I know them now. But let's, types of things you're doing. You're working with companies. I mean, this is your book is geared for the workplace.
It is. It's for. Well, here's the challenge. The people that need it don't know they need it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the people that are already doing the building a culture of belonging would just go, oh yeah, that's good. Maybe they need to order the book and pass it on to someone.
Yeah.
But yes, I can work with people. I can be a keynote for an event or a meeting that you've got people gathered that want to know how to do a better job with the culture in your company. I also can do online, a lunch and learn kind of situation, get a couple of people together and we can talk about how to implement this or what does it look like. And then I'm willing to work with someone long range, months, 6 to 12 months, and help them work through this. There are so many ways. Do a workshop, a breakout. I've got some fun activities to help people change their thinking and work together, build a working together attitude, a couple of team building exercises.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I think what you're offering is good. And thinking back to where I worked, and it was the only job I ever had. I left, become self-employed. And the guy who became the partner in charge after I left is still the partner in charge. And I often look back and say, oh my gosh, if I would have just hung on for another couple of years, because he's great. I mean, he's everything you talk about. He was always that way. And when you had a bad day, when you were kind of feeling like, hey, hang in there, he was the perfect leader, and certainly for that environment. And I don't know.
Well, I also believe that this subject of belonging is important today because everyone's focusing on DEI, got to have the inclusion part. Well, inclusion is helping people feel like they belong. I want to broaden that inclusion because it's way more than just what people look like. You've got diversity of personalities. You've got diversity of communication skills. How people communicate or receive communication. As a leader, you need to know how your people receive what you say. Do they have to see it written down? And so you send them an email, but other people, don't send me an email. I'm not going to read it. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. Or do they need a video about it? Or do they need someone to come alongside them and actually go through the motions of what it is? You need to understand your people. I'm working on a rubric for a leader to put down the names of all your people you're leading, and then have the columns of what kind of communication do they have? What kind of learning modality do they use best? What is their special gift that they bring to the table? And what would be missing if they weren't there?
Right.
And if you'll see, oh wait, I don't even know, anything about their personal life. Are they married? Do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Where are they originally from? How well do you know your people? Because when you get to know them, ask questions about them, not just what would be on their application or on their file, but when you actually get to know someone, and I've got a very simple formula, it's in my book, to talk to people about what, their life, and ask them about their family and about their occupation and the Ford method. What do they do for recreation? And what are their dreams? And as a leader, if you can help someone work toward their dreams or what they're aiming toward, then why would they go anywhere else?
One thing we didn't do, we need to do. Can you give us the title of the book? I understand claim, but there's actually a title for the book, and I don't want to mess it up.
Blame Your People at Work: How Inclusive Leaders Keep Their Employees Engaged and Productive.
Listeners, it's Dia Irby, DEAIRBY. I will get a link to her website in the show notes. And I will also include a link to the 3 strategies. Dia, great. These keep getting better and better. We'll have to do a 4th.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready. Thank you,
Yeah.
Frank. I so appreciate you inviting me into your world and into your listeners' world.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.